Support and protests as two international political leaders took the stage in Houston today. We're covering both sides of today's meeting between President Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Tens of thousands of people packed into NRG Stadium to watch the leaders of the world's two largest democracies share the stage. Rika Mudiraj begins our team coverage with what happened inside the stadium.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi.
A Texas-sized welcome for the Prime Minister of India.
This is not his voting public, but let me tell you something. These are the people who love him, and that's why they're here.
The event was dubbed Howdy Modi, and 50,000 people filled NRG Stadium to welcome popular and controversial leader Narendra Modi.
Our two nations have taken their relationship to new heights.
Another leader with an affinity for rallies, President Donald Trump, shared a stage with the PM.
And everyone here today has a crucial part to play in building an even grander and greater American and Indian future.
Their friendly exchange could mean the two countries are on track to sign a trade agreement in the near future.
I think Modi is quite enamoring. I've not heard him speak before. I think he did pretty well.
He showed solidarity about India and U.S. moving forward.
President Trump and PM Modi may seem like they're cut from the same cloth. Both are right-wing populist leaders, considered political outsiders. Still, the appearance gave the president access to a potential pool of Indian American voters who may not have voted for him in the last election.
Yeah, that's true. But today, I am feeling very proud of him being our president.